Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. Hans, very nice to see you here. I know, how are you? I'm recognizing a lot of names. I know I've met with a lot of you in the past. Some I haven't, so great to meet you. And I'm just waiting for an alert that I can get started to make sure we have as many people in here as possible. All right, we're gonna get going. As you can see, everyone, I'm the guy on the screen. My name's Matt. I'm an account executive here at Pointerpro. Like I said, I'm sure I've met a lot of you during the discovery and demonstration process, but if I haven't met you, it's very nice to meet you. Today, we have a really, really exciting topic: boosting your consultancy with maturity assessments. So just giving everyone one last minute to get in, and then we're going to get right into it. First, we're going to go through a little bit of an agenda, and then we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into each topic. So we're going to be talking about our agenda, right? First and foremost, we are going to define what maturity assessments are. We're going to talk about who uses them and why they're used. The truth, as you'll soon see, is that there's different types of maturity models. This type of assessment is very, very versatile. In fact, I would argue that maturity assessments in general are one of the primary use cases that we see from our clients. They're used across pretty much any industry you can think of, and they're measuring a variety of different things. Next, we're going to go through some really, really awesome client examples showing off PDF reports, showing off questions and how those questions are asked and scored. And then finally, we're going to have a Q&A at the end where I'll do my best to get to any and all questions that any of you might have. Next, like I said, I love to start with definitions. So first, let's define it. What is a maturity assessment? Well, it's a process used to evaluate and measure the level of development or progress of something. Now, something seems like a very, very broad statement, and that's actually the point, right? Something could mean an organization, it could mean a project, it could mean a product, it could even mean a concept. But the overall point is to evaluate whatever that something is in terms of its maturity level or readiness level. And I'm sure a lot of you already know this at this point, but I'd just like to start with the basics here. Now that we've defined maturity assessments, let's dive in a little bit more. Yes, it's a broad subject, of course. There's actually several different assessment type names that you might have heard previously, but actually these are all just different ways of saying maturity assessment. So I listed a couple of those names here. You may have heard maturity model before. You may have heard readiness assessment, or you might have heard capabilities assessment. You might even hear things regarding indexes, regarding scorecards. But again, what all of this means is we need to generate and deliver some sort of score to the respondent. In using our reporter license, you're then able to use our PDF report builder to deliver very detailed and personalized feedback to both individual respondents and cohorts of respondents based on what that maturity level or score is. Next, we're going to talk about how we see our clients using these maturity assessments, right? And furthermore, why they're important. Although I've already explained that there's a wide variety of maturity models out there, we see that our clients are generally using them for three main reasons. The first, as you can see, lead generation or marketing. Why? Well, it's a great opportunity to analyze prospective clients and automatically provide them the personalized feedback regarding products or services that could help them improve over time. And that's usually what all of our consultancy clients are looking to do, right? Take clients, provide them feedback based on current state, and talk to them about what products or services they offer that can allow them to improve over time. The second main use case we see is tracking already existing clients. So the first one is really more prospective clients or early in the sales funnel. Number two is for people that are already signed on or organizations that are already signed on with you. You can very, very easily use maturity assessments with clients on an annual basis or a semi-annual basis or even a quarterly basis, but it allows you to capture current state data over time so you can see what things are changing on your client's end. and maybe opportunities for you to offer different products or services over time that can help continue that client on the improvement path. Number 3, productization. So what is productization? Well, it's essentially turning your maturity assessment into a product of its own, right? Why not make it its own product? Using our platform, you can very, very easily turn your expertise into a paid for, completely 100% automated product and create a new revenue stream. So I know a lot of you are already doing that. And for those of you that aren't, we'll definitely dive into that topic to talk more and more about how our clients are actually doing this. Next, we are going to start with lead generation. Okay, so lead generation is a big one. Using our reporter license, our clients are essentially automating their own evaluation of prospective clients by using their answers in a questionnaire to generate one score, or maybe it's variable, multiple scores across several different variables. And then they can use these scores to deliver a maturity level. This allows you the ability to provide as personalized feedback to these respondents as possible, and even offer products or services, like I've previously mentioned, to generate improvement in an area. Finally, our PDF report builder specifically, it allows you to actually map out next steps for those clients taking your assessment, or these prospective clients in this case. We'll often see our clients including calendar links or step-by-step directions to these respondents as far as next steps go, right? One, it's like, hey, if you like what you see in this report and you like the value I'm delivering here, well, hey, here's our calendar link. Click on it, book a call with us. We now have a little bit of your information, and we'd love to talk to you about how we can help you improve over time, right? This can also involve client journey mapping, or road mapping, as we often hear it called, to sort of say, hey, these are gonna be the next steps even once you sign on, and how we're specifically going to work to help you improve overall or in a particular area or project over time. So lead generation, like I always say in many of my demonstrations and discovery calls, this is a huge use case. This is probably the #1 overall use case that we see with our tool, just because it's proven to be such a powerful marketing tool, right? 1, these reports are instantaneously delivered. 2, they look very nice. They're branded. They're designed by you right within the tool. And then 3, and arguably the most important point here, is that they're delivering personalized feedback. So obviously clients that are going to your website or clicking on a link in an ad and answering questions, 1, there's that sort of impressive factor up front. Wow, I got this report delivered right away. Oh, 2, the report looks nice. And 3, this report seems to have a lot of information that's very, very particular to what I answered on the questionnaire. So it's a huge, huge use case that we see. We're going to move on. Number 2, tracking existing clients. So this is an important one for a couple of reasons, right? First, you can use the assessment specific results dashboard, and keep in mind, every different assessment you create, you're going to have access on the back end to all of the raw data that you've collected, where you can analyze it, you can filter it, you can dive in and look at even respondents taking multiple times, which in this case, that's exactly what you're going to see. You do this to measure what's changing, right? What's changing both for the better and potentially what's changing for the worse, because we know that a lot of things are changing both for clients, both for our clients and our clients' clients at all times, right? For areas of opportunity or things that might be changing for the worse, our reporter license allows you to immediately or automatically deliver feedback in a PDF report to the respondent, providing the personalized feedback basically for how to get back on track. Of course, as current state maturity changes for an organization, department, project, concept, etc., you're undoubtedly going to want to deliver highly variable feedback on this report that could be ever changing. That's another reason why the automation that our reporting tool provides is so valuable and such a time saver, right? Think about manually trying to produce these reports for your clients on an annual basis. 1, it's not scalable, and 2, it's going to be extremely time consuming, especially if you actually want to deliver that personalized feedback, right? Finally, think about cross-selling and upselling, right? As these things change over time for your clients, it's certainly a great opportunity to alert them to maybe new products and services you offer, or products and services that might not have been relevant at the beginning of your engagement, but certainly could be at any given time, right? So it gives our clients a chance to constantly evaluate how their clients are changing and then automatically offer them the specific products or services that they're going to need moving forward. So this is definitely a big one that we see as well. And then finally, use case 3, productization. Productize your expertise, as this slide says. This is all about turning your assessment into its own standalone product. You might be asking yourself, well, how would I do that exactly, right? Well, it all starts with our natively built PayLink integrations, which are with PayPal and Stripe. You can connect your PayPal or Stripe account and insert these payment links right within your questionnaire like you would any other question. This allows respondents to pay you each time they take your maturity assessment, right? But there's also more. If we dive further into productization, we see a couple different things from our clients, right? Some of them are placing these pay links right at the beginning of the assessment and saying, hey, look, you have to pay me X amount to even see a question and answer anything. Others of our clients are doing quite the opposite, and they're productizing only the PDF report. So in this particular scenario, the introduced pay link might not be mandatory, but rather respondents have the option of purchasing the PDF report or not. If they do, they'll be immediately emailed a branded personalized report upon completion. Otherwise, those who choose not to pay will still have the ability to answer all of the questions. Instead of receiving their report, they'll mostly be taken to an outcome screen, which can provide more general information, like maybe just delivering an overall, hey, you are a maturity level 3. But that PDF report, and that's why we're charging for it, is actually going to tell you what that maturity score means, and more importantly, how we can help you improve it over time. In the non-mandatory example, you'd still be able to gather the response data on the back end, which is something that our clients really seem to like, right? So you're not necessarily getting charged a PDF report that's generated, but you're still collecting maybe some personal information about an individual or an organization, so you can plan to contact them later on with different types of marketing efforts or different types of outreach. So those are really the 3 use cases, right? Lead generation, productization, and tracking clients over time. Now let's translate this into the actual platform, right? How are maturity models actually built in Pointerpro? Obviously, this is a tough one to answer because each maturity assessment is very, very unique in its own way. And also determining what it's actually measuring could be a million different things. However, I can definitely tell you that there are 3 elements of our questionnaire builder that will be involved one way or the other. And here they are. They're listed on the screen. 1, custom scoring. This is the basis for generating scores for a respondent. This is actually assigning numerical values to your different answer options and letting those score values accumulate as someone takes an assessment. Number 2, formulas. This could be for the manipulation of those scores through custom mathematical formulas that you're actually building in the tool that are automatically calculated each time a respondent goes through your assessment. And 3, outcomes. These are your maturity levels in most cases, right? And they can often be based on the first 2 that I mentioned. So these outcome levels are either going to be based on custom scores, or they're going to be based on formulas manipulating those scores. So no matter what you're measuring, you're probably going to be interacting with these 3 features of our tool. So what I want to do next is I want to dive into each one individually. We'll go right in order, and we'll show some screenshots. We'll talk about what exactly is being done in those screenshots, and we'll talk about a couple other ways that they can be used as well. Okay. Number 1, let's take a deep dive into custom scoring. So this here's a screenshot from our world famous management self-assessment that many of you have seen myself, my colleagues Stacy or Jeffrey demo for you before, right? Put simply, custom scoring is the ability to assign numerical values to the answer options you're presenting to a respondent. So in this example, this is the question's actually more of a statement in this case, but it says, I regularly assign stretch opportunities to help my staff develop their own careers. We've actually created 5 answer options in Likert scale form. So they're ranging from strongly disagree at the top to strongly agree at the bottom. The arrow and the orange circle here are showing you where you actually implement these scores. So there's a switch at the very bottom of this screenshot that says count custom score for the question. When you activate this switch, you'll see this custom score box appear on the right-hand side of your answers. As you can see, we assign numerical values ranging from 0 to 5 for these potential answer options. So if someone answers strongly agree here, they'll receive a custom score of 5 on this question. Whereas if you answer strongly disagree here, you'll get a score of 0. And that's basically how it works. Now, the beauty of this feature is that it gives you complete and total flexibility to come up with or use whatever exact scoring metric you want, right? You can assign negative values to each answer option to positive. You can even offer very, very different custom scoring metrics from question to question. So it's really about providing you the flexibility to measure these things exactly how you want to measure them. I would also add that I like visually how it's represented because it's very, very simple, right? You're activating a switch, the box appears, and then you're straight across assigning numerical values to each answer option. And that's custom scoring. Next, the formulas feature. So this is a really, really robust feature in our tool, right? Because it allows you to create custom math formulas like you would in Excel, for example, to calculate things, right? You can calculate averages. You can calculate, you can create conversion formulas. You can turn scores into percentages. There's a lot you can do here. In fact, you can even use the formulas feature to create your categories or subcategories of questions, right? Think about it. If you took question 1 and question 2 that were related together somehow and formed a category, creating a simple formula, adding the custom score for those 2 individual questions together, that would give you a category score, right? In fact, that's exactly what we did in the top screenshot here. All we did was we created a formula which adds together 2 question scores, thus producing an output that measures a category score, right? Now, the second screenshot under it is actually taking it a step further. In this formula, we wanted to create an average score formula for the category. So in this case, we're going to start by adding those same 2 question scores together, but we're going to add brackets around it. And then we're going to divide it by 2, because of course, how you would calculate an average is taking a score in a category and then dividing it by the number of questions, which of course will give you the average score. I wanted to add a quick side note here because, of course, the secondary formula will bring this up. Do we all remember our PEMDAS rules, right? Do we remember this from math class growing up? As you can see, we bracketed in the question score variables to ensure that they were actually calculated first before the division was calculated. So just keep those PEMDAS rules in mind when you are creating these formulas. There's also a test formula feature right under the screenshot, actually. So if you scroll down within a formula, you can test the formula. It'll run your most recent response data set through that calculation and actually show you how it was put together, just so you can make sure your formulas are functioning exactly how you want them to be functioning, okay? So that's formulas. We are going to move on to outcomes. This is the last one, right? Again, I like to start with definitions. So we'll talk about what exactly is an outcome. Well, an outcome is essentially a variable end message that a respondent's going to see prior to their PDF report. So for maturity assessments, this is usually where we'll see you create your actual maturity levels, right? In the left side screenshot, I created an outcome which just says maturity level 1 and then goes on to provide a little bit of an explanation of what maturity level 1 means. Outcome screens allow you to get personalized with feedback, but it doesn't offer anywhere near the personalization offered in the PDF builder itself, right? So I often describe an outcome as the appetizer and the PDF report as the full meal, right? The outcome screen is going to tell you maybe what you scored or what maturity level you achieved, but the report is going to be used to tell you what that score or maturity level means, how we can help you, next steps for improvement, so on and so forth. It's important to note, whenever you create outcomes, you also need to identify how someone is going to achieve a given outcome. This is where our logic engine comes into play here. So if you look at the screenshot on the right, this is our logic that we created for this actual maturity level. You can see that we said, well, 1, we want to show this outcome when a certain condition is met, and we clicked on that option. When we do that, it's going to pull up our actual logic engine. So in this case, we said, well, you're only going to achieve maturity level 1 if your custom score on the questionnaire is between 0 and 10. Now, the beauty of this is you really choose anything for your logic, right? It could be based on how you individually answer questions, could be based on scores, could be based on formulas that you've created, or it could actually be based on a combination of all of those things. If you see this orange plus button at the bottom of my logic, that's actually my ability to add an unlimited number of additional criteria to each logic rule that I'm actually creating here. The very last thing, it's actually this where the orange arrow is up here. I want to talk about activating multiple outcomes. So this is actually only a feature that's available in our annual plan. So enterprise, reporter, distributor, and up, right? When activated, this is actually going to allow you to deliver multiple outcomes for the same respondent all at once. So a popular use case for this would be if you actually created maturity levels for each of your categories within your assessment. Maybe a respondent might achieve a level 1 outcome in category A, but they might receive a level 5 maturity in category B, right? This just gives you more flexibility in 1, what outcomes people are achieving, and 2, what information you want to provide on that outcome screen. So that's a really cool feature that I don't think enough of our clients utilize because it is really powerful in terms of what it's actually going to offer you. And that's it for the tool for right now. So now we're going to dive into actual client examples. And if you've been on discovery calls and demos with me, most likely you've seen this assessment. This is Pantheon's Web Team Agility Assessment. So I have 3 screenshots here, and I want to go through each of them to talk about what exactly they've done here. First, on the left, this is their maturity curve, right? So they've created an overall maturity level for each person that takes this assessment, and there's 5 steps: rudimentary, basic, formative, productive, and optimized. Now, based on the overall score range that you achieve, that's going to trigger one of these outcomes to be awarded to each respondent. Now, because of the variability offered on the PDF report, not only do you see one of these levels highlighted, so in this case, the formative range, but right below it, you actually see text that is very specific to companies in the actual formative stage, right? Think about if someone were to get a rudimentary outcome. Well, they wouldn't want to see text below about the formative stage. They would want to see text below about the rudimentary outcome. And that's exactly what Pantheon did here. So it is a variable chart in many ways. It's actually done through an image where based on an overall score, a different image of a highlighted level could show up. But also the text that corresponds to it below is going to be based on which outcome was achieved as well. And this is actually all within the same assessment. So not only do they do an overall maturity score, but they also have categories of questions as well. So in this case, they're delivering, hey, here are the 5 categories of questions that you answered, and here is your particular score in each of those categories. The reason this is important is because it allows them the ability to then provide personalized feedback, not only on an overall basis, like this left screenshot, but also they can dive into individual categories and say, hey, because you scored this, I want to tell you A, B, and C. But if you would have scored that, I would rather tell you X, Y, Z, right? And that's kind of what we see with the screenshot on the right. So this is more of a category style page. So agility and innovation. Now, the cool thing about our report builder is that it gives you the ability to determine what content is static and what content is variable, right? So in this example, this top sort of best in class blurb, that's going to be static in this case, right? Because sort of no matter what score you got in this category, they want to deliver an overall, just an overall statement on the category and what it means. However, the tips and resources could really be highly variable, right? And they could be dependent on a score that you achieved in that category. Maybe it's based on an overall maturity level that you achieved, or maybe it's even based on how you answered an individual question. And again, that's going to be the beautiful thing about our report builder. It gives you the total freedom and flexibility to determine which specific content you want to deliver to which respondents, but also why, right? And you can see this page on the right in particular is filled with links, which are mostly references or resources that they have available on their website. There's also, it's partially cut off at the bottom, but there's also an associated case study that is a click through as well. So not only are you going to be delivering personalized feedback, but you're also going to be able to link in things like videos or resources on your website or a case study that you have as well. This is an awesome PDF example, so I often like to show it. And when I do show it, most people say, yes, I want something similar in some ways to this. So it's an awesome example to show. Next, we are going to talk about Elevate and their scale-up assessment. So this is another example of a maturity model here. First, I put a quote from Chris, the founder of Elevate, because I really liked it. He's basically describing the goal of this particular maturity model. He says, we wanted to give prospects a flavor of the deep dive that we would do going into their organization and make them familiar with their 12-step framework. So I would guess that this is more of a lead generation type example, right? Giving prospective clients a flavor of the actual deep dive that will occur once they're signed on. I wanted to show you this first screenshot because questions can be set up in such a wide variety of ways. This is a picture of the actual questionnaire being taken and what a question looks like. So obviously, you're branding this from head to toe, both the questionnaire and the report, but you can see their logos here. You can also see that they've chosen this particular question type, which is our slider with text question type. Now, this is the same question type we used in our management self-assessment, and we really like it for Likert scale style answer options like you see here, because it provides the actual spectrum of answers and gives the respondent the opportunity to drag or even just click to go to whatever particular step within that Likert scale they want to. So I wanted to show you the questions first. And next, I'm going to show you the corresponding report here because I think it's awesome. Just like Pantheon's, it looks great, right? So one, it's branded from head to toe, their logos, their colors, etc. But if you see this screenshot on the right, they're sort of doing something similar that Pantheon did in their report. So one, they're using our gauge chart to deliver sort of an overall score based on, as you can see below, there are several categories here. They're using a combination of all these category scores to deliver an overall score in this case, but then they're also providing a graphical representation of the category scores, right? And they're different colors, so they're easily identified. I just think it's a really nice example. So another way that you can graphically represent not only scores, but also maturity levels that you're seeing respondents achieve. Next, I actually have an example for all of you. I'm going to send this assessment really quickly in the chat so you all can try it. This is actually a house-made maturity model. Now, look, it's not scientifically validated in any way. However, it's a really good example because it shows you structurally how an assessment like this would actually be built. And if you give me 1 second, I'm going to get this link and I am going to send it over to all of you right now. There it is. I just sent it over. One other thing I wanted to point out about this example, if you see the screenshot on the right, we're actually introducing the idea of benchmarking, which I don't think enough of our clients utilize this feature. It's actually done through the formulas feature, but it allows you to directly compare scores achieved by individual clients as they're taking the assessment to averages. And those averages can actually be separated as well by industry or by company size or by region or location, right? So the benchmarking feature really gives you the ability in jumpstart to clients who might find while taking your assessment that they're actually scoring below average scores that you see, which might entice them even further to jump in and start a professional engagement with your consulting organization. So that's an example. As you can see, we have some of the question screenshots over here. We have the screenshot of the report on the right-hand side. So that was everything for our example. And now I want to open it up for Q&A. But before I do that, I want to note a couple things. One, we're going to be uploading a recording of this webinar to YouTube in case you'd like to watch it again, in case you'd like to share it with someone. And by the way, there are a lot of really interesting videos on our channel, so please feel free to check it out. And if I can't get to your question now, I will definitely make sure you get a response afterwards. So if something comes to mind later on, or you want to discuss your use case, or you'd like more information on anything that we've talked about today, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or any one of the Pointerpro experts you might already know. And again, there's one more orange arrow in this presentation, as you can see. I want to make a note. I'm pointing out our professional services. If you don't want to build your assessment or parts of your assessment within our platform, we have a dedicated team ready to quote your project and build it out to the exact specs that you send over. So definitely wanted to make a note of that. We do kind of have a do it yourself or we do it for you type policy. So if building it within the system is not something you want to get into or do, we've got a team here ready to quote out your project for you and build it for you. And that's going to be it for my presentation. So I definitely want to open it up to any questions from anyone out there. And I can see some people already typing, which is great. What is the ideal number of questions in a maturity assessment, from James? That is a great question. And here's how I'm going to answer it. I'm not going to give you an exact answer. And here's why. To be honest, right, we've seen maturity models be successful that are all different types of lengths. It really depends on what you do. But I'm actually going to revert back to the structure of the license here, right? Because within our reporter license, you're able to create an unlimited number of different assessments. I would say that very, very easily opens it up for extensive A/B testing, right? For example, create 3 different versions of the same assessment, one that's very long, one that's medium length, and one that's very short. Send it out to people, collect their feedback on it, right? And then determine which route will be the best for you and your organization. So I think that that is a, it's not an answer, right? Because I'm not going to flat out tell you, because I don't know, to be completely honest with you. Depending on what you're measuring, it could be very, very different, right? So use the fact that you have the ability to create a multitude of different assessments under that same license to your advantage. So that's a big tip from my end that I see. Any other questions out there? Thank you, Edison. Thank you, James. Peter, I see you're typing. You are very welcome, Peter. How can you get a demo, Edison? Well, one, you can leave your email right in this chat and we can get in touch with you as soon as we're done here. And yeah, we'd be happy to meet with you. Michael, looking forward to onboarding. We're very excited to have you on board. So that will be coming up shortly. Very exciting. And I'm glad you were able to make it today as well. So that was awesome. Need to leave. Great session. Oh, thank you. I'll contact you to get a quote for making my report. That sounds fantastic. I'm going to put my personal email address in here as well, just so everyone has it. If you need anything whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to me or anyone that you know on the team, especially if it's related to professional services, related to maturity models in any way. I would be happy to meet with you and kind of talk through whatever your requirements for a project are. So I just sent my email through. A question from Nigel. I talked about 3 use cases for maturity assessments. Which one should I start with? Well, look, that depends on your needs, right? I would say generally speaking, we find that lead generation assessments tend in most cases to be shorter and simpler from a complexity perspective, right? So I think that in many cases, what we see our clients doing, they'll have 2 versions of a maturity model, right? Maybe the shorter, simpler one is used on the website for lead generations for trying to get clients on board. And then there's a more long, in-depth version of a maturity model that will actually be sent to existing clients. So if I had to choose one, I would recommend creating a lead generation assessment first. And then from there, you can add on to it, create new versions of it, even experiment with productizing it as well. Whether it's a lead gen or not, right? Any type of assessment can be productized with our tools. So I always encourage you to look into that as well. You're very welcome, Nigel. And Edison, thank you as well. I hope that was a sufficient answer. All right. Any more questions out there, or are we ready to build our maturity models, everyone? All right, Mike's ready. That's fantastic, Mike. Get to work now. All right, everyone. I'm going to end this call. It'll be posted on YouTube, like we said. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Adios. Bye-bye.